In the last 2 years, I've put together something called the Decentralized Gaming Association. I, along with a couple of friends within this very small industry, have been discussing and thinking about and otherwise trying to build decentralized games. So, what is the DGA? The DGA is an informal association. Basically, we don't have any formal entity, there's no bank accounts, there's not really much of anything. It's basically just a Discord plus a little bit extra. Whenever we talk about decentralized games, we're mostly thinking of computer games and ones which are connected to a blockchain. Within our group, we are not really married to one particular blockchain or another. We are agnostic. We don't have any fees because we are a rather informal association. And as I've said, we're mostly based around Discord. What is it that qualifies as a decentralized game? What is it that we are particularly interested in as an association that would, kind of make you like a qualified member? Although there isn't really any membership, there isn't exactly any qualification, but you may find that we are particularly interested in a particular type of game versus another game, shall we say, another type of game. You will find that there's many games that are called blockchain games, which are mostly centralized, or the main element is centralized, and perhaps they have some NFTs, whereas what we are interested in is games which are fully decentralized. Typically, they should have distribution of the consensus or the control. They should be fault tolerant, so not just the network, but the actual game itself. So having NFTs on Ethereum is one thing, but where is the game itself? Is that also fault tolerant and also on Ethereum, or on some other blockchain network, or is it actually just on a developer server? The blockchain in many cases will be used for, in some cases it can be used for data availability, but it may also be used to host the game logic and therefore provide like the consensus around the game logic. That's not the only way to do it, but it is obviously one way. Games, or rather the code for the game, should really be open source. Perhaps in the early days it doesn't need to be. As you're building up your community, you're still building your product, and maybe you don't want to give away all of your secrets yet. But really, at the end of the day, I think it really should be open source. And then obviously NFTs, which everyone knows about. It's a booming industry. Everyone is talking about it. But one of the main problems with the NFT industry right now is a lot of it is centralized. And that's something that we don't really do a lot around. We don't do a lot around NFTs. They are like part of the games, but we have them in such a way that the emphasis is not on the NFT itself, but rather on the whole game. And sometimes you may have members come to us and they'll claim to be decentralized, but generally they're not. I think that's probably the rare cases, to be honest. I think most who come to us and enter our Discord are really interested in the sort of more hardcore decentralized aspect. And how to tell? Well, generally there's a smell about the team. It just checks out. If something is open source, then you can almost be sure that it is decentralized, but not entirely. So we as members, we just have a knack for knowing what is and what isn't decentralized. What are the examples I can provide of decentralized games? There aren't many of them, which is why you probably haven't heard of most of these games. Nine Chronicles, which is a team that I've been helping, so I have some of their tokens just as a disclosure there. There is that Nine Chronicles runs on its own chain. There's Dark Forest, which runs on an Ethereum side chain. I think it's somewhere in alpha. It is reasonably quite popular, and I think all of the game logic is inside the smart contract running on XDAI, I think is the side chain. Soccer Manager Elite and Torion are two games from Zaya. I have a very small amount of tokens from them, just so you're aware. Small disclosure there. Both are in beta and launching sometime in the next year or two. I'm not entirely sure. We will have them probably featured in a later video. Conquest, which is a game which is currently in the works now from Ether Play, which is, I guess it's in alpha or pre-alpha. They were the people, mainly it's a guy called Ronan, and he developed a game called Eternal, which is no longer being developed, but the code is open source, so in theory anyone could deploy it to an Ethereum flavored blockchain. Dungeon Protocol, which was something, I don't know if there's been much development on it recently. It's not launched, but there was a playable version. There is a playable version, I believe. Creeps from Cartesi, which is a proof of concept game. It has launched, but again, it's just a proof of concept. So it's a tower defense game, but it's not fully fleshed out. A new one recently that I just came across is Crypto Colosseum. I don't know much about it, but apparently the logic for the game is inside an Ethereum smart contract. So I at least believe that it is decentralized. These are a list of our members. Again, we're an informal association, so there isn't really any like strict membership. These are just the teams who came together in the early days to basically kind of create the DGA, shall we say. So we have Zaya, Planetarium, Cartesi, and Etherplay, which is mainly Ronin, as I said. The other group that you may have heard about in the sort of blockchain gaming area is the BGA. We, as the DGA, we have a very focused niche on purely decentralized games. That's just our thing. That's all we really serve and are only interested in. If you are building a game which is mostly centralized but it has, say, some crypto payment aspect, then you'd be better probably joining the BGA. Or if you've got a mostly centralized game with NFTs, then the BGA is probably more your place. There are many people who are interested in those games. I mean, they are probably the more popular game right now than decentralized games. So that's part of the reason that the BGA is quite a bit bigger than we are, but it also has a much wider scope. So you are free to choose which one you would like to join. I think the BGA do have some sort of free membership. They also have a paid membership, and it's probably worth something checking out. You can actually join both. There isn't really anything to stop you. It's just that if you're building a mostly centralized game, then there may not be much that you can contribute to the DGA, or you may feel that you're kind of somehow out of place. We have a little bit of web presence. So yes, we are mainly Discord, which is 167 members. We have a Twitter. We're not like super famous on Twitter yet, but we put out tweets every few days, or we try to. I try to. We have a website. It's something I kind of put together in a bit of a rush. Yes, you could fairly complain that the website isn't great. We have some blogs. More needs to be done. I kind of ran out of some steam to create new blogs, and I would like some help if people were to write blogs that were appropriate and would fit with what we're trying to do. We also have a YouTube channel. On YouTube, we've probably had, I guess, videos over the last year or so where we've had discussions between the member teams, which has, I guess, tended to be mostly around the tech side, but also a little bit around, say, with business, like with Mud Hero. They were talking about like the difficulties that they've had of trying to create a business model. And generally, we are open to new teams coming to us who would also like to participate in the discussions and even like to present their work or their findings, or just even, just general kind of experience, shall we say, of the decentralized gaming space. So if that's something of interest, reach out, come give us some likes on our videos, even become a subscriber, and hopefully this video will be the first of many that I'm putting out to try to explain what is decentralized gaming and why should it be exciting. Also, kind of how to build a decentralized game, I should say. We are probably primarily focused on development, so catering more for developers, not only, but we are kind of more tech heavy. So the people who are kind of looking just to kind of invest in something and then maybe flip some tokens, it's not really what we're catering to. Yes, you can join, but again, you may not feel a lot of value from the discussions just because that's not our focus. It's mostly in the building. Lastly is a book that I've been working on. It's on GitHub. It's open source. And I'm trying to collect together all of the combined knowledge of each of the teams that we have here to present the different ways that you can build a decentralized game. How do you build a decentralized game? Why might you want to do it? what are the challenges and what are the opportunities. So I've tried to capture that in the book. I've got maybe half of the content, maybe more than half of the content. It's something like 10 chapters. It is a bit raw, kind of semi-edited. The English is okay, but there's probably a lot more that can be done in order to fact check it and make sure that everything's consistent. It's just something that I haven't done myself, and it's difficult to spot your own error. So if people wanted to come and help with that, that would also be fantastic. Now that I'm aiming to do more with YouTube, I think a lot of the book will probably end up becoming YouTube videos at some point too as well. Anyway, so that's most of what I wanted to say about the DGA and who we are. Hopefully I'm going to put a lot of the links to like the Discord, the Twitter, etc. They're going to be in the description of this video. And then obviously, I guess the main thing to do would be to follow the link to Discord and basically come and meet us there and then start chatting with us. Look forward to hearing from you. Like the video, please, subscribe, and you can leave comments in YouTube if you have any comments or questions. Although I would probably push you towards Discord because that's really the better place for us to get a hold of us. Thank you very much for listening. Thanks.